Watch any video reviewing a show and I bet you'll get to that section of the video where the person making it says, well, this is filler, so it sucks. Filler is a word constantly thrown around when discussing TV shows, and when I say discussed, I mean most people love to scream about how they hate it, while a small handful of people can barely squeak out the words that they like it without getting attacked by comments. Filler is described as material that exists outside the story arc to pad out other material. According to Wikipedia, people see filler as content that is part of a television show that doesn't add anything to the main story arc. It was just shoehorned in to meet a certain quota of time or fill up a season, if you will. For example, when I think of something that could be considered filler, I think of episodes like Monday Night Football from How I Met Your Mother, which has nothing to do with the show's main plot of Ted looking for the love of his life, and it's just a silly one-off episode that explores Ted and his friends trying to avoid finding out who won the Super Bowl, so they can all watch it together the day after. Now this episode is actually my favorite of the whole series at this current moment. This episode, which most people would write off as unnecessary and dumb, is actually my favorite. And I think that's where people start to confuse what filler is. Filler doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't bring anything to the table. The Wikipedia definition even says this. Filler expands on other aspects of the material, instead of exclusively focusing on the main plotline. It could be a silly plot that just showcases the personalities of the characters like Monday Night Football. It could be a one-off plot that expands on the skill sets of a character like the Ninjago episode Pirates vs. Ninja, which shows Lloyd the Green Ninja learning Spinjitzu for the first time while fighting one-off villains. Filler is the type of episode that takes a step back from the main plot, which could be a plot that is an emotionally intense adventure like in Ninjago, or a plot that has a complex mystery like How I Met Your Mother, and expands upon aspects of the show that don't get a lot of screen time to be developed or showcased. The filler episode is like a breath of fresh air. While most people come to the filler episode and find it invaluable because it veers from the main plot, I find the filler episode to be a creatively expressive way of expanding upon the character's world and possibilities of a show. A lot of my favorite episodes from my favorite shows are what most would consider filler, but I want to rename it to expansion. Let me explain a little further. The show I'm going to use to explain this today is Lego Monkey Kid. Lego Monkey Kid is an adventure show that focuses on MK, a human-monkey hybrid boy that inherits the Monkey King's powers when he finds his staff. The pilot is spent developing the relationships between MK and the rest of the main cast, explaining portions of the Journey to the West, the book the show is based on, and building up villains with rich backstories to explore in the rest of the series. The first season focuses on the Demon Bull family as a villainous faction, and starts to build up the villain Lady Bone Demon, who will become the main villain later on in the series. While the first season has a very good main plot, it also has a lot of filler episodes that focus on things not pertaining to fighting the Demon Bull family. I don't think any of these episodes are wasting any time by focusing on different things. Duplicatnation is the second episode of season 1. After the first episode dealt with MK fighting Red Sun, a member of the Demon Bull family, and also revealed our first glimpse of the villain of the Lady Bone Demon, the second episode took a bit of a left turn. The episode opens with showing a typical day in MK's life, working at Pigsy's noodle shop, helping his friend Sandy with random tasks, and partying with his best friend May. We begin to see that MK is slowly getting more and more tired as he repeats the same tasks day in and out, afraid of letting anyone down. Already, this filler episode is giving us something valuable. It is establishing MK as someone who does not want to let anyone down. This is an essential part of his personality going forward, and this episode was a necessary part in developing that trait. When MK confides in Tang about this, Tang tells him about a power that Monkey King had, where he could clone himself using one of his hairs. The biggest thing this filler episode contributes to the rest of the show is expanding upon MK's power set. We learned that MK does have the power to clone himself just like Monkey King does. MK uses this clone power in many different ways going forward. Most notably, he uses this power in big climactic battles. Taking a full episode to develop this power helps it feel more earned when we see him use it in big moments in the series. The episode also establishes the random but very loved by the fandom character Party MK. Party MK is one of the clones that MK made to party with May so he could get more sleep at night. Party MK is hilarious and I love him. He is my beloved. And this episode made me love him. Jack DeSena's voice acting, the amazing animation, and actual freaking hilarious writing made me absolutely love him. He is the clone that gets the most focus in this episode, actually proving as a threat to MK and May towards the end of the episode when he rebels against MK's instructions. Party MK is usually the choice clone used in future episodes, and it's always such a treat to see him. I think this episode is so essential to making this character so loved, because if we hadn't gotten time to focus on his zaniness and his connection to the real MK in this episode, seeing him randomly pop up as a leopard print wearing party boy probably would have been really cringe. Also, seeing him pop up again in meaningful ways is such a treat. It's like a thank you for sticking with the show. You're getting this payoff from an early episode. It's also even more great when you realize that MK was able to get Party MK to actually help him out instead of rebelling. It makes you feel a little more proud of MK in a way. One other thing this episode helps establish is Tang's personality of doing the bare minimum. He tells MK some Monkey King information and then sees there might be consequences and brushes it off because he's too lazy to deal with any ramifications. This is a part of his personality that is delved into a bit more deeply as the series goes on. So, I think Duplicatnation is a completely harmless filler episode that actually does a lot more to enhance the aspects of the show that make the show what it is than people think. The first season of Monkey Kid is usually regarded by the fanbase as the worst. People usually suggest that you skip it if you're watching the show for the first time, but I would say the opposite. Even though a lot of the episodes are filler, they're not useless dribble at all. They build the characters into the ones we know and love, develop the relationships between characters, introduce new villains, new powers, etc. The first season is also not much different in quality to the rest of the show. It is top tier writing and gorgeous animation. It's an essential piece to completing the puzzle that is the series. Lady Bone Demon won't feel as impactful in the later seasons if you don't see her slowly get revealed in season 1. MK's growth as a character and a hero won't feel as impactful in the later seasons if you don't see him make mistakes and learn from them in season 1. Season 1 is also just really fun. It has its angst at points, but it's definitely not as angsty as the rest of the show. As much as I love the angst the show gives, it is definitely at its best when it embraces its comedy. Season 1 is probably the best for this. If I'm sad and I want to watch something fun, I'm turning on any season 1 episode. I'm not turning on Pitiful Creatures, no way. I think season 1 is also the most reminiscent of the Saturday morning cartoon. Cartoons have always had great world building and plots, but also had filler episodes often that kids would watch on Saturday mornings, and I think it's really sad that that kind of television is being lost. At the end of the day, these shows are meant to be a little less complex than us older people think they should be, and season 1 is the best at duplicating that kind of feeling. So, to summarize, filler isn't all bad. Yes, some shows have quite awful filler that isn't adding anything, but I think most shows with filler aren't that bad and are actually quite good at expanding upon different aspects of the show. Not all filler needs to be skipped. A lot of it should actually be embraced. You might owe a lot of your favorite aspects of your favorite shows to filler episodes for developing them. As I think about it, there are a lot of episodes that focus on main plots that actually do a lot more harm to your favorite shows than its filler does. I'm thinking of season 6 of Ninjago for this one. I think Jay being clingy and misogynistic does a lot more harm to the show than the ninja fighting some pirates. At least we get a fun dynamic from the team in that episode, when in season 6's case it just hurts Jay and Nia's relationship even more. So, in conclusion, give filler a chance. You may be surprised. Guys, I have to confess, this whole video was actually a ruse to convince you to watch the episode Questing for Quest from season 11 of Ninjago, because it's actually my favorite episode of the show. Don't make fun of me, you should give it a chance. Remember, not all filler is bad. Watch Questing for Quest. Goodbye, thank you for watching.